Hello, I hope you are doing well. So, we are here because we're talking about getting support, and I'm setting up structure and starting to build your ecosystem of support related to growing as a person. Um, my background is in healthcare, and alongside that, almost for as many years, I've had a foot in business. My family has businesses from photography. I have an uncle who's a jazz musician. My dad was very entrepreneurial. So I've had a business part of my brain working for the same amount of time as I've been in the healthcare industry. And more recently, I've put all that together and I've started supporting people who want to be seen, they want to build their professional brand. And they want to do it in a particular way. They want to have the right support. They want to use the right vendors. They've had not bad, they've had learning experiences with people who didn't quite understand their vision and they want to move forward in a different way. And I want to leave information with you that you could use on your own and get results and have a little bit of a foundation. And so that you can absolutely build on that. If you like to engage me to build on that, that's absolutely an option that's out there. And I want you to be able to be left in a better place without me at all. So let me just go through this. So this is HIPAA considerations and remote workers. And this is not conclusive. This won't be all that long. This is actually a longer presentation that I'm going to sort of skim through because we're going to kind of focus on bringing in the remote support, the virtual assistants, the people who can help you with scheduling, help you with prior authorization, some things that you might want to start thinking about and what that might look like. And that's where that will sort of end. So disclaimer, this webinar, well, this isn't really a webinar, but this presentation was really built after seeing multiple posts about people in the healthcare industry, people who have practices who are looking for virtual support. And also my time as a consultant, a healthcare consultant, actually working with a HIPAA company that took people through becoming HIPAA compliant and maintaining that state of compliance. And so that has absolutely also informed my concern and perspective around, posts where people are asking for support is, let's definitely have that conversation. So I always say, think of this as, me not being a lawyer. What I do, think of it as somebody who knows a little bit about traffic law, about the speed limits. And if you see somebody going above a speed limit, you might want to say something. And if someone gets caught in speeding after you've said something, don't call me to help fight a speeding ticket. I'm not a traffic lawyer. And the same thing with this. So HIPAA overview, a lot of us in healthcare think that they know HIPAA. I know I did. I graduated nursing school in 2006 and I thought I saw a thing or two and knew it. But when I delved into my role as a consultant, I realized that the enforcing of the security rule really only started in 2009. And we know it takes a good 5 to 10 years for once policies are made and once laws are made for it really start to get teeth and becoming even more understood. It takes a while. That doesn't happen overnight. And so when I saw that the OCR, which is the Office of Civil Rights, we think of civil rights, we think of some pretty big and major stuff. They only became responsible for enforcing it not all that long ago. So there definitely is a gap in understanding. And because this one is, this presentation, we're absolutely focusing on remote workers. I won't spend too much time about that, but this is why should you care about it? Well, anytime someone's coming in contact with patient information, they become a business associate, whether or not they know about what all is required of a business associate, whether or not you know what's required of a business associate. They become one by the actions that they do, not their level of understanding or your level of understanding. And these are just examples of like why you should care. And if you want copies to this, feel free to reach out. But security risk analysis is a thing, especially if you're bringing in support. And I won't keep into it, but yep. There's a privacy rule, there's a security rule, there's breach notification rule. When information gets leaked, whether it's, you're working with a virtual assistant and their computer and they're working with database information, was stolen and you don't know whether or not it was encrypted or not. It's just a conversation that you need to be ready to have. And I can't just say, hey, hire a VA, here are some VAs you should hire without at least talking about this. And so there's more to it. Like I said, we're not really going to spend all that much time talking about it. And if you would, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to have a conversation. But again, this is not a lawyer. And so there's like other examples. So the fun part, well, I think it's fun. So I think of asking for support like asking for health, HEALTH. You're asking for health because you really want to make it safe for you and safe for them so that you can realize a lot of the promises that you had in your head when you decided to go to business for yourself. Really to give you more bandwidth to take care of more important things, to service your clients, and to not be worried about a whole lot of other things. As an owner of a practice, your role as a CEO really is ultimately to just be that CEO. If you still want to be a clinician along the way, that's, we all get to make decisions in life, but the CEO role, it really is about leading the mission and vision of the company. That's it. When it comes to bringing in revenue, other people are concerned about that. That keeps a lot of other people up at night who are involved in your organization about how we'll bring revenue in the doors. Operations, that absolutely can rest with your operations person who's worried about things related to that. And human resources, the training and onboarding, there absolutely can be a person who's concerned about that. Now, if you have a smaller practice, all of this might be wound up in you. And you might think that a virtual assistant might be the best or easiest thing to give you more bandwidth. We'll talk more about that, but before you bring anyone in, definitely think about the requirements for people who enter your space, whether that's your professional space, your personal space, starting a relationship with a new human, whether this is a vendor, contractor, virtual assistant, or significant other, it really is all the same. You need to have standards in life, so I feel. I shouldn't say need. I invite people to consider the standards that they have in their lives. Have a great report for the board. In larger organizations, and I've been able to be part of billion-dollar organizations in a few different areas, people can't just make spending choices willy-nilly. They have to make spending choices following a specific criteria that they can present to the board to say, hey, board, we spent $20,000 for this purchase, this service provider, this solution provider, this software. We spent $20,000 for this person to do this job or this thing to do this job because they met this, and that criteria. And so when there is a logical criteria match, then it makes sense to move forward. And so this is true again in life, whether it's a significant other, whether you're bringing in somebody to, support you with home organization, or you're looking for, again, a remote worker of some sort. Make it safe for you by having a logical criteria and looking for a match. Make it safe for them. They want to be safe as well. Creating safety for them might look like having a project plan complete with timelines, roles, and responsibilities, measurement of success that everyone understands and knows what, quote, done looks like. I've seen so many projects go not quite as people had wanted because people just weren't sure what done looked like or when we got to done. And, when it came to projects, timelines, and who was responsible for what by when, and barriers, there just wasn't that conversation before a project was started. And so people just go along the way and months go by, and then somebody in that relationship says, you know what, I don't think it's working. And then the other person might be confused, and it just lots of interesting things have happened. So I just want you to think about how you're going to make it safe for them. What are some of these things that you want to consider? And, feel free to pause this and, brainstorm. Some people say, Amelia, I want you to tell me exactly what I should be looking for. And it all depends. It all depends. I can't say that one thing works for everybody. It really all depends on what you already have in place. It depends on your past experiences. And we'll talk more about that. We're here already. So it depends on whether you need swimming lessons or a lifeguard. So these are swimming lessons. These kids might be at a YMCA and, they want to learn how their, parents want them to learn how to be safe, in 3 feet of water, right? They're looking for swimming lessons, and the swimming lesson at a YMCA, I don't know, it's probably under maybe a couple $100 a month. I'm not quite sure. So if you need a swimming lesson level of support, you're looking at a virtual assistant, you're looking at a task doer. You might even be able to look at overseas labor if you just need swimming lessons. Now, if you need something a little bit more robust, you might be looking at an agency, and an agency is responsible for managing outcomes. They're responsible for making sure an outcome is achieved. If they say you give them a project and you came up with a project plan and they're responsible for achieving that outcome, and the person who happens to be working on that project gets sick, it's up to that agency to find someone else, bring them up to speed so that they deliver on that outcome. Now, if you are working with a virtual assistant and that virtual assistant, gets sick, or you spend, a year training them and they realize that, actually they want to spend more time with their kids, or, there's this other job that's paying a little bit more, or, I have a family member that's ill. I can't do this for you anymore. Here, they hand you back the keys to everything. That's just something to understand before you're going in. So yes. So what type of level of support? Do you need swimming lessons, someone just to come in and do some tasks, or are you looking for a more robust solution? And there's no right or wrong answers. There's no shade if you need, lifeguard levels of support, or if you're got things all together and you just need someone to come in and kick out a few tasks. They're all good. It really doesn't matter. It's just something I love people to be aware of before they go into looking for someone to support them. And some other questions to consider, what is your own record of training and onboarding people? Whether this was, when you worked inside of a facility, on your own, how do you typically deal with that sort of type of thing? What is your desire as it relates to managing tasks and technicians? Do you enjoy managing a lot of technicians and managing tasks, or do you want other people to manage those things? Again, no harm, shade either way. Nothing's right or wrong. I just love people to be aware of the feelings that come up when I ask these questions. And these are also questions I take my clients through. And it's a guided brainstorming session in a way. But I want you to also have these questions on your own. You can guide yourself, right? You can sort of think through these questions on your own. What's your history of maintaining excellent work relationships? Are relationships easy for you to maintain? Do you enjoy starting relationships with people and have easy communication back and forth? And, no one ever has accused anyone. I shouldn't say never, but, you don't really have a lot of times that you can remember where, someone disappointed you because they didn't read your mind. You just have a great way of working with people. Just think about how you are with those things, and that can give you information, a lot of information moving forward. So again, this originally was a HIPAA heavy presentation. I skipped through the HIPAA parts. If you want the slides, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. But that's it. I always say I'm not a lawyer. Nor am I HIPAA certified, and there's no such thing, NST. That's it. So if this was useful or helpful, feel free to reach out if you want my support around anything else. Even if it looks like coming up with some vendors that you might want to consider, or before we even get to that, coming up with a criteria of what vendors need to look like. And Google vendor selection tool. You'll find lots of information out there if you Google vendor selection tool or vendor selection criteria, because again, selecting vendors, having criteria that you can present to a board, and whether that board of decision makers is just made up of you and a couple other people. In the corporate world, people just don't make buying decisions, again, willy-nilly. They follow specific criteria, and there's examples of that out there. And if you would like professional support around coming up with a criteria and engaging me with what I've seen work with other people, and coming up with vendors that have matched some criteria for other clients in the past, let's have a conversation. All right, take care.